All right, we have a new chapter of heterogeneous genius linguistics. It is nighttime. He is camping with a wide medley of various species, all with their own language and culture. And isn't this lovely? Isn't this such an inspirational image? All of them having come together on this journey without necessarily being able to speak to one another. So we're still in this mode of the kind of tonally shifting language. That it isn't just about the words anymore, but the rising and falling inflection that conveys some of the meaning, which our MC is having some trouble adjusting to, having difficulty kind of catching on to what things could mean. So they hear something. It looks like they're responding to some sound that they've heard. Be quiet. It's fine to let Mo and Kasha keep sleeping. If you come, you carry this. A bag full of something. Feels like dirt. The ewe, which was like kind of this shaman-esque, doctor-esque role that they observed multiple species taking part in, are bringing pails filled with water. When walk so dirt doesn't know. I think he means there like step lightly so you don't cause vibrations in the dirt. Which makes me think that there's something they're trying to avoid waking, right? Because they told him not to make much noise before. Don't take heavy footsteps. It's a hunt. Hunt for what? He's like, don't be loud. Get ready. It's time for a hunt. Tracking some sort of prey. This is interesting. So far, all of the things that they've eaten in terms of meat have either been definitely unsentient, unintelligent things, or a situation like the dragon where it seemed to want to be eaten, and that the other people in the dragon's family were like, yeah, chow down, this is what we're all about. Whereas this is a hunt. There's something intelligent that can hear them or sense them and is trying to get away from them, and they're trying to catch it. So this is interesting. This is kind of like another moral enemy of another moral area, moral enemy. What am I talking about? Another. Oh, whatever. You get what I'm saying, right? No one is carrying any sort of weapon. Seems strong even without weapons. Stop. Lower jaws of the lizardmen serve as sensory organs. Oh yeah, which kind of makes sense because a lot of makes sense. What am I saying? But if we base these lizardmen off of the lizards and the amphibians and stuff we know in the world, a lot of them have like they're like speaking kind of organs and stuff are like a vibrating skin underneath their jaw. So it would make sense that those are like very sensory, and if you are elevated to the point where you can speak a language, those would have to be like very nuanced in their muscular structure so that you can have the ability to like rapidly shape a whole bunch of sounds and such. So it makes sense. It makes sense in the same way that our mouths are extremely sensitive and can detect all sorts of kind of detailed manipulation. The same things that make the mouth so articulate make it such a detailed receiver of information too. So that's cool. I like that. But he slips. Fool! He makes a disturbance on the ground, and then the prey runs away. Still dark out, so I slipped. I'm also a fool. Always tell me not to come. I'm strong. We follow from far. So they're kind of like the backup group. He's just the muscle, but if he followed too closely, he would tip off the thing. Ooh, want to ride on back. Wow. That's, I thought they would be all against this sort of thing, but that would be seen as lowering oneself, unprideful, something like that. But no, he's just like, hop on, I guess. Really? Legends often talk about how valiant warriors would ride atop griffins. Don't want to be a warrior, but it's a little exciting. Oh, it's just really unsteady. Yeah, he's not triumphantly flying in a blazing Archon, but instead just kind of stumbling over the mountain rocks and carrying this pail of water and stuff. I like that. I like that. The series is good for having like little kind of subversive disappointments like that, which I think is really fun. I think this genre of kind of realistic fantasy, like very high fantasy, but then a lot of like psychological realism and stuff, it really excels in moments like this kind of gap. Turns out that griffins aren't that great at movement. They just carry things, it protects them. How nice. People only rode them during things like military parades as a display of power. So both of these things, about the legend, valiant warriors riding atop griffins, and then this kind of more nuanced, disappointed understanding of, oh, maybe that was just parades. Both of them, though, still speak to a previous era, one that's kind of shrouded by history now, where it seemed like these various beastman races were under the subjugation of mankind. And we also saw a bit of controversy where the professor that went before our MC here, was being like chastised and called an idiot for wanting to study the cultures of the beastmen, being like, no, they have no intelligence, they have no culture, there is no language. So that also seems to reflect some kind of latent desire or some latent attitudes culturally between humans and beastmen. It's all quite distressing. So far, it's all been bad news in terms of how the humans and the beastman related. So I don't know. I'm kind of sad, I guess, to learn all this. But we're heading towards progress. We're getting along, which means the relations between humans and griffins back then were. See, if I scroll down, they pointed to it even more directly. So I wonder what more we'll learn. Sequel right now. 3 of them seem to have stopped. They have finally found the prey. Scattering the water on the ground, and now they're simply staring at the ground. Earthworms! Earthworms! So that's what's going on. It's not that that's an intelligent thing they're chasing, it's just a very sensitive thing. And that noises you can make are not necessarily a big deal, but it's more disturbances in the ground will send them running. And you put some water down, and I'm sure that's what it is. Earthworms are going to wriggle their way up. That's been their whole plan. And the griffin is the strongest at just plucking a lot of them from the ground. Makes the contents of the bag with the water. It's different from the dirt, but it's hard to tell. Scattered along the ground they're staring at. Oh, it's a big worm! Wow, woof, are really strong. Cut off its breathing so it'll die. Oh! Oh, okay. So it's not just that it makes it appear and then they catch it. It actually is attacking it. Whatever poison they're spreading on the ground like this. Hard to do, so we beat them. Loaded the woof onto the griffin's back. Oh, woof by his hands. Hunting. Hunting anything other than woof? That thing. Oh, it's a big grasshopper too. Oh my gosh. These both, I assume, will taste terrible. Now we need the crossover into Dungeon Meshi to make these things look appealing. Because right now, not feeling it. Because in this world, bugs like annelids like woof are both hunted and also domesticated. Talk? Whoa, they'd never considered such a thing before? I kind of doubt it, though. It's not like all of the other beastmen are like anthropomorphized or like evolved forms of creatures we've encountered in the world, in the real world, in this one. And to begin with, things like dogs and lizards and birds are much, much more advanced than like a grub, like a worm like this. So I have no reason to believe that these things have any sort of intelligence. But then again, the slime had a lot of intelligence. And what is a slime but a fantasy version of an even simpler creature? I think. like an amoeba or something. Thinking about the griffin has me wondering, how do they determine who are friends and who are prey in livestock? Yeah. They die like this, they don't become slippery. So they're cutting it up. It's a little gruesome. Our MC is maybe a bit disturbed. Woke up to these sounds. Throw in diced herbs between hits. Start smelling good. Start looking good. You hit and mix until it all looks the same. No, is when you do this forcefully. Incompatible mixing to fight. Roll it up and cook it. Prepare to set off. I wanted to hear what it tasted like. They continued beating the meat. I wanted to hear what it tasted like. It's before. It's not their one. It can't speak. Can't do this. Can't explain well. Assuming medicinal herbs and some sort of dried meat, we head out. So leaving the ew behind. All right, and that's it. Another nice chapter. We had a little bit of dungeon meshy action there. I wanted to know what it tasted like. It's the big payoff. But that isn't this kind of series. We're left with a few pretty interesting questions. What were the relations between humans and griffins back then? That's a good question. And how do they determine what is domesticated, what is prey, and what is a friend, what is an equal? And I assume slowly, naturally, just through his stumbling adventures, we're going to learn the answers to these questions, and we're going to really enjoy doing it. So let's check out new chapters as they come out, of course. Bye bye.